What's going on, everyone? So, Media Day is officially a wrap, and it was very insightful. Something about this Lakers team, and maybe it's just me, but I really feel like this year just feels different, right? Like LeBron, he's back to number 23. Last time he was 23, we won. Not saying that that's the reason we're going to win or lose, but, it was nice to see LeBron back in number 23. He looked fresh. He looked vibrant. He talked about how, he's finally gotten back to where he was pre that Dallas Mavericks game. And he just kind of was working this all offseason to kind of get right and dedicated this season to his son. So that that's going to have an impact on him, and that's going to really drive him and motivate him throughout the course of this season. Anthony Davis looked like a man that was ready to go. Rui, all of them, right? And even just throughout the course of the day and just seeing and hearing all the conversations and all that stuff, like, yes, you got the generic answers because a lot of the questions are the same generic questions. Like, are you excited to be on a Laker? You're like, yeah, it's been my life dream, like all that stuff, right? But you also got some like really insightful things, right? And the consensus that I gathered, at least, was everybody seems committed and bought in. Everyone understands that this year is championship or bust. Everyone understands that this roster is extremely deep, extremely talented, and everyone is going to have to sacrifice and be willing to, suppress the minutes and desire to be a key player or whatever throughout this season. Everyone's going to get an opportunity. We have plenty of minutes to go around over the course of an entirety of a season. Maybe not so much game to game, but throughout the course of a season. And the Lakers just, it's one thing to say it, right? Everyone said it. Some guys, really tried to hit on it and hit home on it, like a Christian Wood. Even like a Rui Hachimura talked about how it wasn't, like, he doesn't really care whether he starts or comes off the bench. He cares more about just the minutes, like what do the minutes look like, and he wants to earn a closing role, which I've talked about before, right? That who cares if you start? Who's the guys that are the best players are the ones that are going to close the game. The guys that are having the most impact game in and game out are the ones that are going to close the game, right? Like, there's plenty of people that start and don't close games, right? So who are going to be those closers for the Lakers? And I loved hearing that from Rui, how he was like, hey, no, yeah, it'd be great to start. It'd be a nice little, oh, look at me, I'm a starter. But it'd be another thing to actually be the guy that's helping to finish these games and win these games. And I really liked that. I really liked that was relayed. LeBron and everyone looked extremely healthy, looked extremely ready, right? You saw the chemistry already built in. Like, LeBron and Rui are like cracking jokes. LeBron's like, making fun of Rui from a distance during Rui's interview and stuff. And it's just this, like, you can just see it. Like, this was what the 2020 team had, right? That chemistry, those relationships, those friendships. Like, Rui Hachimura was hanging out with LeBron all offseason. And it was, according to Rui, was because of Phil Handy. Phil Handy said, you need to basically be LeBron's shadow, right? You need to follow him around. You need to have him basically walk you through everything. You guys have similar size, similar builds. You can evolve into that type of guy. And I just, you saw their relationship in like brief spurts, which I thought was just, it was a lot of fun, right? You see everybody laughing and joking. And look, I get it. It's media day, right? But even if you pop into some of these other teams, the Lakers just look more lively. They look more fresh. Like, they look happy and genuinely excited. Where, some of these other teams look very like professional, right? Now, a little smile, a little smirk here and there, a little joke cracked here and there. But for the most part, some of these Laker guys were really trying to like hang out with each other. Like, it was almost like a camp where it's like, hey, we're hanging out here, but yeah, we got to go take these pictures over here. Like, even LeBron had, an interview with James Worthy and all of them, and was making jokes and cracking about how, like, this is the interview that I wait for, blah, 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 and then we got to go do this interview, all these other interviews, and all this stuff over here, and yada yada. And like, it's just, again, it seemed like a team and a roster that understands the goal, understands the mission, knows what is ahead of them, and what it's going to take to get the job done. It looked like a team that already has some established chemistry, which to a degree you got to understand, right? Because half of these guys were on the roster with the Lakers last season, although it was the back half of the season. They didn't get the reps in the games, but now we're going to get a full training camp, a full preseason. It's very refreshing, to say the least. Like, and I know, like, you look at some of these teams, like, Milwaukee, and you look at Boston now, and you look at the Phoenix Suns, and these teams, and yes, on paper, they look ridiculous. But when you really get to the root of those teams, they don't have the depth that this Lakers roster has. They don't have the size. They don't have 2 top 10 players on their roster, right? There's a lot of things that those teams are lacking and missing. And no team is a perfect team. I mean, Lakers are not without their faults or without their flaws, and we'll see how much those impact the Lakers this season. But the Lakers should be one of the better offensive teams, one of the better defensive teams, and one of the better teams, period. And just going through this media day, I was really trying to look for, beyond the generic nonsense questions and the generic nonsense answers, like what is the common denominator here? How do the people respond to these questions? How does Christian Wood, what does he talk about? He was he open? Was he kind of like, standoffish? When they asked about like the locker room issues and stuff, like he addressed it head on. I love seeing that, right? Rather than him trying to kind of deflect or be like, oh, well, no, he was like, hey, like, look, I haven't really had problems outside of, Houston, where I had that issue, and it was defending a player, and I'd do it all over again, right? And like, obviously he explained why he wanted to take a vet minimum, build his brand, build his relationship, like talked about how Darvin Ham and the connections and how he's friends with half these guys, and Anthony Davis was recruiting him, like all of that stuff. Like all of those little details are things that are very important, that really go unnoticed, but can be very impactful because, again, it gives you an idea and understanding of what to expect from those guys. And even Christian Wood talked about, obviously he'd like to start, but he doesn't care. If he's starting, if he's coming off the bench, whatever it is, whatever he's asked to do, whatever his role is, he just wants transparency, communication, and opportunity. And he said that that's what it feels like, right? And Darvin Ham is great at all those things. You ball out, you show up, you do the job, you do the task that's in front of you, you're going to get the opportunity. Darvin Ham is not a guy that beats around the bush. He's going to shoot, he's a straight shooter. He's going to tell you how it is, let you know what's really going on here. This media day was so much different than media days past, in my opinion. Like even last year, again, there was jokes, there was laughter. Pat Bev stole the show a couple times, right, with some of the stuff he said and talked about how, like what's your favorite, but when I blocked LeBron, and they're laughing, and LeBron's a jokester and a little bit of a goofball and stuff, so he's trying to keep things lively and light and stuff, like, but it wasn't just those things. It was more than that. It was everything that went into it. Like, you could tell that they are genuinely having fun. You're watching them like behind the scenes, and they're laughing and joking and handing out. Again, it was like summer camp, but they, and you got to go do a handful of things during this time. But during the downtime, it's like nobody's sitting by themselves. Nobody, like, guys are running over to each other, crashing each other's interviews, making fun of each other. Like, that's what you want to see. You want to see those friendships, those relationships, that camaraderie building, the brotherhood, right? It was great to see. It really was. And I'm pumped for this season. I want to definitely break down a lot of stuff I want to talk about that was really hit on, like individual things, but I don't want to spend like 3 hours on a video breaking things down. So we'll break them down independently. Like I'll make a video about Christian Wood, Rui, so on and so forth. And we'll kind of just go that order. Plus, for the ones that want to hear X, Y, and Z, you can do that. Or if you want to hear all of them, you can hear all of them. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Are you pumped for the season? Are you, do you have your concerns? How do you feel? Let me know down in the comments.